years ago, I was told I was dying. When you look at what happened to my body, I shouldn't have survived. My ordeal started at the end of my 3,000-mile bike ride through Brazil to Rio.We'd stayed in some remote places and I'd got plenty of mosquito bites. On our last day, I woke up exploding with pain. I was so exhausted and dehydrated, but I put it down to the fact I'd cycled thousands of miles and I needed to refuel. It just didn't cross my mind that I was seriously ill.Even when we reached the finish line. Rather than going to see a doctor, I rushed over to a TV studio to work, as I didn't want to let anyone down. By then, I was in excruciating pain. My stomach felt like I was being stabbed from the inside over and over. I couldn't stop being sick and blood was coming out of my mouth. I went to the hospital, but I didn't react to any treatment, so I was put into an induced coma and put on a life support machine to keep me breathing. Despite gross, I was still aware of people talking. My brain was going 10 to the dozen. Malaria had taken control of my body. I'd got pneumonia, bacterial disease, and my kidneys were damaged. The medical team pumped me full of liquid to try and save my life. I swelled up so much I weighed 14 stone. I also know now that I had to be resuscitated during the time I lay in a coma. My mother and my brother flew out to be with me, and I was given 24 hours to live at one point. My mom was told that even if I did survive, I would most likely be brain damaged. I do remember having a bizarre conversation with death and how I knew I didn't want to leave my life nor ruin my family's. And somehow I fought to stay alive. It took days to get me out of the coma, and when I did, I was still on a ventilator. I had problems breathing and doctors were convinced I was brain damaged as I couldn't do anything. But slowly, I began to improve, and after a month I was flown back to Leeds Hospital in the UK, then back to my mum's a month after that. I was, however, still very weak. My kidneys were not working, and I was still coming to terms with the enormity of what my body had been through. I couldn't dress myself or shower, and I'd even lost the ability to swallow. I had blurred and delayed sight. This was due to the hemorrhaging in my brain and back of my eye, which was caused by malaria and lack of oxygen to my brain. It made my vision blurry and delayed. I had to go back to basics. I remember desperately trying to walk from the bedroom, which we'd set up downstairs, to the kitchen, and then to the garden. I was on 15 tablets a day and had daily visits to the hospital. Not surprisingly, being so close to death took a massive toll on my mental health too, and soon after I landed in the UK I was diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's normally associated with war, but it can happen to anyone who has been through something so traumatic that the brain finds it hard to process. I kept asking myself if I would recover. Would I work again? Would I even be able to go for a country walk? I found it impossible to sleep. I'd have nightmare flashbacks and wake up thinking I was still in a coma or not being able to breathe. Despite normally being so strong, I was distressed and cried a lot. Any day at Mom's, I was trying to bake cakes to help build up my eye-hand coordination. I shook so much I couldn't even pour the ingredients. I broke down over the frustration of not being able to do something so simple. Everything was a struggle, but slowly, the daily hospital visits turned into every few days and then weeks. In January 2017, my sight had returned to normal, and we decided I was well enough to return to my London flat, which was a huge milestone. I got the train, but my mum and friends had to counsel me over the phone as I was having panic attacks throughout the journey. I felt terribly vulnerable. I was grateful to be alive, but I was also so confused as to what my life was going to be like now. A friend stayed with me for 2 weeks until I finally felt confident enough to live on my own, something I'd previously taken for granted. Soon after she left, I decided to take on some work, and one of my first jobs was a live TV show. It was stressful, but I am so glad I did it. I'd lost confidence, and while I know I wasn't really physically or mentally ready, being back did me so much good, and it gave me the courage to take on more. 20 months on, and I have come a long way. Even the experts remain astonished, as technically I shouldn't even be walking. I need to work on my sleep, but I no longer need to take as much medication. I overhauled my diet because my kidneys are still only half working. I have to avoid alcohol, salt, and potassium. I also drink a lot of water, and if I do have too much salt, I swell up. Seeing a clinical psychologist has helped enormously. I'm learning to deal with the trauma, and I feel so much better for it. Running's played a massive part too. I've always prided myself on being fit, but suddenly that was gone. It's always been my coping mechanism for staying strong, and a time to dream up ideas. Back in London, I put on my running shoes, walked, jogged a bit, and then broke down. Over time, I've built that up, and I do believe running has helped speed up my recovery. It's made me believe in myself. And it's why I decided to run the London Marathon again. It will, by far and away, be my toughest achievement yet. I'm not nearly up to the mileage level I should be, but I really want to raise awareness about malaria. I've promised my family, however, that if I don't feel well I will stop. Now, as I look towards the future, I am excited, and I definitely don't sweat the small stuff. What happened in Rio has made me realize how much I want to live, and I want to use my experience to make a difference. Charlie is an ambassador for Malaria No More, Malaria No More. org.uk for more info, go to malariamusty.com, and for the London Marathon, visit Virgin Mana London Marathon.